Welcome back. It's 10:18. So can we reimagine the Chicago River? When most Chicagoans think of the river, they probably picture murky water, pollution, or maybe even Chonkosaurus.
Chonkosaurus, that big
Chonkosaurus.
snapping turtle.
Big snapping turtle. So what if we could reimagine the Chicago River as a place teeming with life, beauty, and community connection, swimming in the river? So that's the goal of this new restoration effort happening right now on the South Branch at Bubbly Creek. We're joined by Christina Kurth from Shed Aquarium and Nick Wesley from Urban Rivers, two of the people who are leading this incredible project of floating wetlands. Good morning to you two.
Morning.
Good morning.
Looks
How's it
gorgeous
going?
out there. Where
Yes.
It looks like you're on the river or somewhere close. Where are you joining us from right now, guys?
Yeah, we are joining you actually from the North Branch of the river over by Goose Island at the flagship floating wetland. So we're surrounded by the gardens right now for you to see.
Oh, cool. Thank you for giving us a little view there. Is that the same kind of man-made floating island that is going in on the South Branch as well?
Yes.
It looks big. Let's talk about what is this?
Yeah. So right now we're at the Wild Mile. And so right here, it's a floating eco park in the Chicago River. And so we use a mixture of floating wetlands and other kind of habitat amenities to create and kind of emulate what you'd find on a normal natural river edge ecosystem. And so we're kind of taking the same concept and expanding the gardens down at Bubbly Creek to kind of give some love down there.
Where is Bubbly Creek?
Say that one more time.
Where is Bubbly Creek?
Yes. So Bubbly Creek's in Bridgeport, McKinley Park area. So it's on the South Branch of the Chicago River, and it's a very notorious spot. You know, they had it, Upton Sinclair wrote about it being bubbling from all of the cow carcasses and stuff. It has a long legacy of pollution, but, you know, the kind of tides are kind of shifting down there, which is pretty exciting.
So, okay, so I'm looking at this video that you guys have. It looks like it's attached to the shoreline. I imagined it literally like an island floating down the river. Why are we doing this, and why is this necessary for the Chicago River?
Yeah. Can I jump in on that one?
Yeah, hit it.
Yeah, so what's really unfortunate is when we were industrializing our river, we really dredged out those native banks that Nick was talking about, this emergent habitat where all of our aquatic plants and a lot of our fish hang out. So we have these steel walls throughout the Chicago River that really created this aquatic highway for barge traffic, which really helped Chicago to be the massive city that it is today. But it reduced the habitat that was available to all of our local wildlife. So when we put these floating wetlands back into the river, what's really cool is the plants actually grow through the modules down into the water. So if we were to lift up these islands, we would see these root systems that are several feet deep, which create really wonderful habitat for fish, but also above the water for pollinators and birds and turtles. So we're really bringing back this emergent zone that we lost when we channelized our river, but we're finding a way to put this back without, you know, pulling out that steel wall and having our buildings fall into our river. We're finding a way to kind of meet in the middle to make it a good space for people and wildlife alike.
That is awesome. Before we talk about the organic matter that is on those modules, will one of you please talk about the modules themselves? I'm kind of curious how these things float, what they are made out of, and how they allow for the plants to actually grow, as you mentioned, right through them.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are a series of floating gardens. So they have kind of pontoons, things that add buoyancy, that allow it to kind of sit on the top of the water. And then we put basically a fabric down and then layer on rocks and wood chips and other things so that the plants actually grow through this fabric and then the roots hang down below. And so it allows the kind of floating islands to be able to kind of move up and down as the river level changes and allows the roots of the plants to actually use the nutrients, all of the excess stuff in the water as fertilizer, which is kind of the secret sauce, I guess.
What's cool is those rocks actually allow something for these plants to hold on to. That's the biggest thing. A lot of these plants don't need all that soil to survive. They're getting that nutrients from the water, like Nick said, but these modules are giving them that anchor, that thing to hold on to that they can no longer find in our current way our infrastructure is at this time. So then they grow on through all that material, and it just gives them that anchor.
So who came up with this idea, and are you guys going to do more? Are they meticulously placed along the river, like certain spots that you have pointed out maybe for the future down the road to put more of these?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is something that, you know, as, you know, the Wild Mile has kind of evolved and grown, as, you know, parks like the floating gardens down at Bubbly Creek, the gardens up at River Park has kind of developed. It seems like it's a solution that really is applicable throughout the river system. So, you know, when we look at just how we've manufactured our canals and the process that we went through to get here, where we have all steel and concrete edges, where there's, you know, kind of a lack of habitat connection, this seems like a perfect stopgap to create those connections in areas where you couldn't before. So it's, I think, a pretty exciting time for the river. And as you know, you guys kind of alluded to earlier with the river swim coming up and all of the kind of energy and momentum around, you know, the Chicago River being a real ecological asset for the city, I think this is part of that whole puzzle.
It really has been cool to, you know, I was born in the I grew up in the 80s, so I have gone from seeing the river as this industrial kind of, like you mentioned, Caitlin, like murky water, you'd never go in.
Yeah.
So now we got the river walk. Now we got this swim happening. I've been taking the water taxi with my kids down to Ping Tom Park, which is probably not far from Bubbly Creek. To see the transformation is really cool. Now we've been taking a look, guys, at some of the footage of your crews installing this stuff. What kind of organic matter is on those modules? Are those cattails? What are we looking at being planted there?
Yeah, so it's very similar to the stuff that's around us. It's everything you would find on a river edge that allows it to, you know, that can handle the wetness, that can handle kind of the flooding and drying and stuff like that. So a lot of different sedges, carex camosa, things like that. We have these beautiful hibiscus plants that, I don't know if you can see them behind me, but these big kind of dinner plate sized flowers.
Yes.
Really good for pollinators. But, you know, with the plant choices, we really focus on what is going to provide the most ecological benefit for the ecosystem around it. Because the draw isn't that it just looks nice, it's that it actually creates an environment that allows other wildlife to kind of come there and populate, and, you know, that becomes the real attraction, to seeing what is in the Chicago River and what can survive here.
A big goal is to bring that biodiversity back to this space. So in many areas of the river where you do still have some of that natural riverbank, you're seeing a lot of invasive species that are not native to the area kind of taking over. So here we have the opportunity to actually choose and curate what's going into these and really bring back that vibrant biodiversity that then brings back that vibrant biodiversity from pollinators, birds, especially the swamp mallow, which are the ones that are the really big flowers that people really enjoy to see. Or some of the other plants are called lizard's tail and water willow, which are naturally found in rivers. We're able to bring them back here.
Can we talk a little bit about you two coming together? So the Shed Aquarium and Urban Rivers. How did this happen, and this project, how did it all come, you know, along?
It's a pretty fun one. One of Urban River's founding members had been doing some research at the aquarium when they were doing their postdoc. And it was just a relationship that we continued to hold on to as they went off into figuring out kind of the awesome projects that they wanted to put into the world. And so we kept in touch with them over several years. And in 2017, we saw Urban Rivers kind of launching their first gardens into the river. And in 2018, Shed, our amazing CEO, Bridget, kind of was like, pilot some really cool projects. Like, I want to hear what staff members across the aquarium want to see happen. And our conservation action team at Shed, we're like, well, we want to pull on this connection that we've held on to. We see this really cool, at the time, small project happening on the river. And there's an opportunity to bring people not just eye to eye to wildlife within the aquarium, but to bring people to eye to the amazing wildlife that's right here in our city, in our backyard. And so we had the opportunity to start helping fund Urban River's work actually get our hands dirty. I've been joining Nick for Island Builds for many years now, and build these spaces together while bringing people out to come see them. And for many years, there wasn't a floating boardwalk. So we were bringing people out via our Kayak for Conservation program, which we still do today, to bring people to get eye to eye with these spaces from water level. And now we have the opportunity now where this project has come so far to bring people out, whether it be on the boardwalk or from Shed's perspective. You know, we really want communities across all of Chicago to have access to these amazing spaces. And we know that that hasn't always been accessible for every community. So we were excited when we were able to pair together in 2022 to start bringing the project to Bubbly Creek as well, and to start offering programming for community members that live in those neighborhoods, to start seeing islands down on their end of the river.
I cannot wait to see them myself. Now, you said you've been island building together, as you phrased it, for a couple of years now. That first island that went in, the man-made one, I'm curious, how is it doing and how much maintenance does it take? Or is it, because these are naturally occurring species anyway, is it pretty much self-sustaining at this point?
Yeah, it's doing great. You know, we get, it kind of depends on how you choose to, what you choose to plant. You know, so in some of the islands, like on the Wild Mile, we do a lot of maintenance because we have a lot of volunteers, and we like to try a lot of kind of riskier species, things that we're not sure if they'll work or not, and really kind of build out that kind of plant palette and plant knowledge. But on other areas, you know, we choose things that are much more hardy, that will outcompete a lot of the weeds and invasives, things like that. And those ones really require very minimal maintenance. You know, we go out every couple weeks to do to weed them, to make sure everything's going well on them, pick up all of the trash around them. But you know, it allows you, I think that the flexibility with this whole system is that you can kind of scale it to whatever your kind of capacity is.
Right.
Maybe you're speaking to someone who is passionate about nature and the river, and they want to get involved too. You mentioned cleaning up garbage, urban rivers. Is there any like opportunity for volunteers to maybe sign up? Do you guys have a website? How can people get involved?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. If you go to urbanrivers.org, you can see there's a volunteer page to sign up. That's where we post all of our different opportunities. So whether that's cleaning up trash in the river with a kayak, or weeding, replanting, doing some kind of fun building projects, things like that, helping with research. So that's how you get involved on that front. We also have a website, rangers.urbanrivers.org, where you can go and actually categorize wildlife that we catch on our camera traps along our parks. So yeah, that's a couple different ways.
Cool.
And folks can join the aquarium via our Kayak for Conservation program to come and learn about these spaces from our experts that have been part of this project for a long time and can help you spot that wildlife. And we do wildlife monitoring during all of our tours, because we've really noticed over the several years of us doing it, like you were saying that you remember when you were a kid and talking about the river and kind of seeing it in a certain way. We've seen, even through the few years that we've been running this Kayak for Conservation program, people have gone from telling us, you know, I think the river is dirty, I only think about it when it comes to St. Patrick's Day, to now we ask them during the tour, like, what are your thoughts on the river? And they're like, oh, I've heard about Chonkosaurus, I've heard about the turtles and the birds in the river, and I want to be here to help check out what's out there. We've seen wildlife has really grown a lot, both in diversity and density. And so on our Kayak for Conservation programs, we now actually track all the wildlife that we see during those paddles, and we give it to the researchers at the aquarium so they can be keeping track of how these environments are changing as we continue to put in this new habitat.
Cool. Can you give us a little sampling of what kinds of wildlife? I mean, Chonkosaurus has gotten all the PR, right? But you said those roots are growing through the modules, so I'm guessing that fish are using those as little colonies or whatever. But I'm guessing birds have been swooping through. Give us an idea of what kind of wildlife you guys have been tracking.
Absolutely. So at the aquarium, what's really awesome is we really like to pair this engagement that we're doing with people across the communities to research that the aquarium is conducting on how these spaces are changing. And so we have a larval fish researcher, a baby fish researcher. His name is Dr. Austin Happel, and he is tracking actually what species of fish are showing up in these areas. We're seeing that they're increasing, and also tracking their movement. So we're able to put little tiny trackers and fish similar to kind of the same tracker that you might have in your dog or cat. And we actually can track their movements throughout the river. So we're seeing how they're moving from one space to another. We're seeing how they're hanging out by the gardens, which is really awesome to see. So things from bass to carp and all different bluegill and things like that. It's been really cool to see. And we also have been doing some community science fishing projects where we've been fishing with the public, teaching folks how to fish, and they're helping us track what fish are hanging out here as well. And not just the fish, like you said, there's lots of birds as well. We have the Illinois endangered black crowned night heron, which is a really beautiful species of heron that actually likes to nest over the wolf habitat at Lincoln Park Zoo. And they've been finding their way over here to the gardens where they can get some really awesome resources, which is fun to see.
So cool.
That's
Nick and
awesome.
Christina, thank you so much. Absolutely love what you guys are doing. I can't wait to see it in person.
We can't wait to have you. Thanks for having us.
All right.